Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. The third presidential impeachment trial in U.S. history is now slated to begin next week.
That following a historic day on Capitol Hill as the House marches the articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump to the Senate.
We'll get to that story in just a moment, but first, Billings schools facing tough decisions trying to make up a $4.2 million deficit.
We learned tonight Superintendent Greg Upham has put together a proposal of job cuts equal to about 40 full-time positions. Q2's David J. talked with Upham tonight and joins us now from the newsroom. David, what did the superintendent have to say?
Well, Jeanelle, Russ, Superintendent Upham has talked with the people that would potentially be affected, and he says meeting accreditation and 2 new middle schools, along with the funding formula, is what accounts for some of those certain jobs there. His proposal calls for cuts to 39.2 full-time equivalent positions. That would save about $2.6 million. He's also proposing a 10% reduction in all operating budgets for a savings of $1.6 million, and that would add up to a savings of $4.2 million for the next 2 school years.
I've identified specific reductions under 3 primary areas. One was the safety and security for students and staff, and number 2 was the accreditation standards that were held to by the state of Montana, and then third, the overarching principle was to look for reductions versus eliminations, and I think we've done a decent job of that. But I'm concerned about them, and we have to move forward and work to solve this situation.
And he says the plan is to have the school board look at the proposal at its January 27th meeting, and for union presidents to also review and give feedback to the superintendent. Jeanelle, Russ?
All right. Thanks so much, David.
Well, the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump is set to begin next Tuesday with senators serving as jurors.
They'll determine whether the president will be removed from office. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made history Wednesday as she signed a resolution sending 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump to the Senate. House impeachment managers ceremoniously carried the documents across the Capitol to the Senate chamber where the trial will be held.
The message will be received.
We've officially invited the House managers to come to the Senate tomorrow at noon to exhibit their articles of impeachment.
Earlier, the House voted largely along party lines to transmit the articles and approve 7 Democrats as impeachment managers who will serve as prosecutors in the trial. They include House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff, Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, and Colorado freshman Jason Crow.
It is really important that we divorce politics from this process.
Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Roberts, who will preside over the trial, will swear in senators as jurors on Thursday. The trial is set to begin in earnest early next week.
I could use some good lawyers, right? Yeah, to hell with it. I just have to suffer through it the way I have all my life.
The president's defense team is expected to be led by White House counsel Pat Cipollone. House Democrats this week released what they call new evidence for their case from Lev Parnas, an associate of President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Wednesday, Parnas appeared in a TV interview.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all of my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president.
The president has denied knowing Parnas. Adam Schiff released new records from Parnas, including a text message exchange about surveilling Maria Yovanovitch, who was later recalled as U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Parnas faces charges in a separate campaign finance case. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, the charges against President Trump, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, accuse him of seeking assistance from Ukraine in the upcoming 2020 U.S. election and trying to hide his actions.
Well, the first phase of the long-awaited trade deal with China has now been signed, and that sent the Dow soaring over 29,000 today and gave farmers some new hope. President Trump and China's vice premier put their signatures on the deal at the White House. The president announced that tariffs on Chinese goods will remain in place until phase 2 of that agreement is signed, which could still be far off. The U.S. and China have been in a nearly 2-year trade war that has hurt U.S. farmers, causing them to lose many of their markets. China has committed to buy $32 billion of U.S. agriculture products over 2 years and double purchases from American farmers in the first year. Well, Montana's lone congressman, Republican Greg Gianforte, praised that deal today, saying today's breakthrough agreement between the U.S. and China is a win for Montana agriculture, manufacturing, and businesses. Republican Senator Steve Daines, who was at the signing, said it means billions of dollars for our egg industry, which is a big deal for Montanans. So big shout out to President Trump and his team here. Meanwhile, Democratic Senator Jon Tester said today's Phase 1 agreement with China is a welcome first step, but we shouldn't pat ourselves on the back when we have a lot more work to do to end this self-inflicted trade war.
Also today, Senator Tester drawing national attention to the case of missing 16-year-old Selena Not Afraid. In a letter, Tester urges the FBI and Bureau of Indian Affairs to focus all available resources on this case. Now, Not Afraid was reportedly last seen at a rest stop between Billings and Hardin on New Year's Day. Today, crews with the Department of Interior, BLM, FBI, Tribal, and Bighorn County Sheriff's Department were out searching as they covered ground north of Hardin. According to Bighorn County victim witness specialist Devaney Buffalo, the search includes more areas than just the rest stop off of Interstate 90. Buffalo tells us the teams are using GPS devices to mark off where they have already searched.
A Billings-based investment group is now suing the Montana Lottery for the right to be granted a sports wagering license.
A Ready Group alleges it should be issued a sports wagering license as outlined in House Bill 725 and passed by the 2019 Montana legislature. However, last year, the Lottery Commission added a rule requiring an alcoholic beverage license to hold sports betting. Even though during the session, lawmakers had actually amended House Bill 725 to require a gambling operator license, but not require an alcohol license.
A Ready Group already had a gambling operator license. It's now seeking an injunction that would stop the lottery from issuing sports wagering licenses until the matter's resolved.
And now time for a first look at weather. Bob McGuire is here. And Bob, you've been busy adding up some of the snowdles for the season.
Yeah, we've had a lot of snowfall events, one right after another the last few weeks, and we thought we'd go take time out and kind of show you how we've been doing. Billings National Weather Service came up with a really good graphic, and we thought we'd show this to you today. Take a look at this. Here's some of the snowfall amounts we've been looking at. Mystic Lake, 88 inches so far this year. Normal this time of year is 70. Red Lodge is at 76.9 inches. You see McLeod is at 61.0 inches, and their normal is about 34.5. Joliet's at 27.9, normally about 23.5. And take a look at this. Here in Billings, we are at 25.7 inches so far this year. Normal year to date, and actually season to date, it's 23.9 inches. So a lot of places actually have doing a little bit better than what is normal for this year. A few have done right around normal, but for the most part, it's been a pretty good snowy year. And it looks like we'll probably see some more snow coming up by the time Friday gets here. We'll have more about that coming your way in a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Bob.
Well, Riverstone Health reports there are now more than 300 confirmed cases of influenza in Yellowstone County this season.
As Q2's Mitch Laggy reports, health experts say the worst is yet to come and it's not too late for a flu shot.
What I think is interesting is that this is the first year since I've been tracking it that we've seen influenza B circulating early in the season. Normally it starts off with A and then we end up with B circulating late in the season, so that's something different.
In 2018, Yellowstone County saw 1,900 flu cases that resulted in 180 hospitalizations and 2 deaths. Experts say the earlier the better when it comes to getting a flu shot, but if you have not gotten one this year, it's better late than never.
And so by everybody getting immunized, you reduce the chance of people having influenza in the community, and that provides protection for those vulnerable people that can't get the vaccine.
Historically, Montana has seen its peak of flu cases in February and March. As the clock ticks down to those months, it's the newborn infants and the elderly that have the highest risk.
And those are, they're very vulnerable, and if they get the flu, they get really sick, and the outcome can be disastrous at times.
Riverstone staff say the tricky part about the flu is that you can be contagious for 24 hours before you feel the symptoms. If you experience labored breathing, headache, or body aches, it's time to get yourself to the doctor.
If you think you have the flu, you don't want to wait too long because we can give antivirals, and it can really decrease the length of the illness and somewhat of the severity of the illness, too.
Protect the ones you love this season and get a flu shot. And if you do get sick, take care of yourself so you don't transmit to others. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. And on top of a flu shot, experts say wash your hands a lot, cough into your elbow instead of into your hand, and avoid touching your face if you can.
Still haven't gotten it. Hope it stays that way.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, still to come on the Q2 10 o'clock news. Spuds are spinning in Sin City as Las Vegas turns into the potato capital of the world. The Egg Report is coming up next.
Plus later, a look inside a daring rescue to save a man inside the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone.
And later in sports, could Rocky open up its new court with a sweep of Carroll? Doubleheader highlights on the way.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.